This week's episode of Couch Potatoes Unite! Is sponsored by Found Penny Studio. Found Penny Studio is exclusively fulfilling our Patreon Tier 3 merchandise perk by doing what they do best, creating to celebrate everyday moments like your favorite TV series. Check out Found Penny Studio's creations at foundpennystudio.com and find Couch Potatoes Unite on Patreon at www.patreon.com/couchpotatoesunite.
You say you wanna watch a drama. You say you wanna watch a comedy. Well, you can watch it with your mama, or you can watch it with your daddy. You'll even sit and watch it with your middle schooler, so you can come and talk around a water cooler. We're watching all day and all night. Couch Potatoes Unite. Whoa, whoa. Couch Potatoes Unite. Whoa, whoa. Couch Potatoes Unite.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast entitled Couch Potatoes Unite! Which is based on a blog of the same name, even if and when our panel of united couch potatoes no longer wants to try to get away with murder. My name is Kylie and I love TV. If you feel the same, keep listening and or checking out our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, as you're bound to find some common ground or something you like. For Couch Potatoes Unite, we're all about the wonders and unique long-form storytelling of the small screen. CPU! Hopes you've been following releases of brand new episodes of the podcast on Wednesdays, as well as new blog entries on some Tuesdays, and as always, we have several more new episodes on the way. Because the panels and I live lives behind our podcast, the episodes are published once per week. Subscribe to the website or the podcast via iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, via Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Amazon Music, basically wherever you get your podcasts, to stay on top of brand new episodes. Episodes already published discuss a variety of shows around the water cooler, including, but not limited to, Stranger Things, iZombie, The Good Place, Game of Thrones, American Horror Story, Grace and Frankie, Mr. Robot, Charmed, and Riverdale. Plus, new episodes are in the works, including revisits for Altered Carbon, Doctor Who, Schitt's Creek, Westworld, Fuller House, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Will and Grace, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., The Crown, Supernatural, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. The MASH Retrospective Series panel will reminisce about seasons 4 through 7. The Outlander panel will get caught up on season 2. The DCTU series panel will chat season 1 of Batwoman, and the Star Trek 50 Plus series will talk season 5 of The Next Generation. We'll be launching new panels covering the Breaking Bad universe, This Is Us, The Orville, Big Little Lies, The Good Doctor, Call the Midwife, The Animaniacs, Killing Eve, and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And because we look back at shows now past, we'll consider the moral implications and quick cancellation of Dollhouse. We'll travel through time and experience all sorts of identities with Quantum Leap. We'll thank the Golden Girls for being friends. We'll cry bazinga for Big Bang Theory, and we'll dive deep into the fantasy world of the magicians. By the way, did you know that CPU also from time to time goes live? We've been live from bunkers, comedy shows, Comic-Cons, and game stores. Plus, we're planning more live appearances and other cool stuff, including in these semi-quarantine times. So make sure you like or follow us at our Facebook page, our Twitter at CPU Podcast, our Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite, or subscribe to the website, our YouTube channel, our Apple iTunes channel, our Stitcher Radio channel, or find us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, CastBox, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. Plus, brand new for 2021, you can subscribe to us via Patreon. In an effort to get fancier, to upgrade some of our stuff, to build some capacity, Couch Potatoes Unite is on Patreon to provide the opportunity to subscribe for perks, including member-exclusive email and Discord access, bonus content, TV-themed merch, and the ability to join CPU for occasional watch parties, and in so doing, possibly to place priority requests for shows that we cover. If any of this sounds like fun to you, head on over to Patreon or download the app and search for our name, Couch Potatoes Unite. Don't forget the exclamation point. In the meantime, if you don't hear a show in this podcast format, fellow panelists and I still write reviews, and we always seek new panelists. So if you have any interest in joining the discussion, say hello by finding us at any of those outlets I've mentioned. At the very least, stop by and leave us a thumbs up, comment, or review. We like feedback, just not the murder kind. You won't get away with it anyway. Today we launch a new companion feature on Couch Potatoes Unite! You might be aware that we have a feature entitled Shark Jumpers Anonymous, which was developed because, as probability might allow, there are times when CPU will probably stop ongoing coverage of a show because not only are no new panelists interested in it anymore, but even the panelists who have been talking about the show on this humble little podcast have somehow lost interest too, for whatever reason, whether it be a decline in quality, an erratic story direction, an offensive development, or some other something not able to be quantified or described. Or maybe they just don't want to quantify it or describe it. This feature is designed to give the panel closure for them, as well as for any listener still interested in hearing episodes about the series that we've been covering. In some instances, there might be one or two panelists or a lonely moderator who intends to complete the show. After all, the moderators tend to be the most devoted to this series in question and or are simply completionists. This moderator is guilty of such a trait, though I've been known to jump sharks too. Because of their dedication and perseverance, and in the interest of scientific inquiry, CPU wanted to gauge if the effort of completing the watch is worth it by the end, and to see if the shark jumpers were too hasty in fitting those water skis. To that end, we launched the first episode of our Shark Jumpers Anonymous companion feature, Final Thoughts. In this feature, those who've jumped the shark have long been in the rearview mirror, but those who stayed loyal to the show in question, for whatever motivation, are invited back to offer any words they want, in whatever format they want, for the purpose of commenting on whether they think the show is worth the watch in the end. Let's face it, most often the commenter will probably be me, and or will probably be alone, though not always, and sometimes there might be two people having a conversation because CPU runs panels of a minimum of 3 people, including the moderator, if you didn't already know. The show we're revisiting today is How to Get Away with Murder, which was our second show to undergo Shark Jumpers Anonymous treatment. CPU last covered HTGAWM, it's almost easier to say How to Get Away with Murder, following Season 3 in July of 2017. The 3 remaining constituent members of this panel, namely Krista, and Eddy, rotated moderating duties. They recorded 3 prior episodes about this show covering each of the first 3 seasons. For a detailed plot summary or a recap of the reviews of those 3 seasons, search our website via the dialog box in the upper right-hand corner, the picture with the couch full of TV watchers, to search for any prior podcast episode, including those about How to Get Away with Murder. Following the finale of Season 4, our panel reconvened one last time as a panel to record Shark Jumpers Anonymous interviews, which were published in May 2018. At the time, all 3 panelists and all 3 moderators, ergo, jumped the shark, leaving no one left, not even a moderator, on the panel. Well, since then, life went on, people rediscovered things, and How to Get Away with Murder aired its series finale on May 14, 2020, after 6 total seasons. Of course, the COVID-19 pandemic also happened, providing more time to watch TV of choice. And wouldn't you know it, but panelist and co-moderator Eddy decided to go back and complete How to Get Away with Murder for quarantine binging, inspiring him to want to share a litany of final thoughts about the Shonda Rhimes-produced series starring Viola Davis. As a result, and without further ado and fanfare, here we present Eddy's final thoughts about How to Get Away with Murder. Well, hello, Eddy.
Hello.
How are you this very fine day?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Where are you at geographically nowadays?
I'm now in Florida. So I'm in the sunny state. I went from the lovely East Coast to now I'm in Florida. It's very warm. Being originally from Michigan, Michigan's currently, I heard, 40 degrees.
No. It was in the 70s today.
Oh, well, it's still in the high 90s here. Like, it was 97 today, so.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I love the heat. I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it a lot.
Well, good. So, Eddy, we are going to be talking today about How to Get Away with Murder. The last time we checked into this panel, I believe it's been 2 years since we last talked as a panel. You, Kristen, and Krista all co-moderated this panel. You traded off. You did a season apiece, and then you quit. You jumped the shark.
Yep.
But you came back.
I did come back. I did. And there were some reasons why. And I have to say the most reason why I came back is probably because of the pandemic. And I literally would work and then I was stuck in my hotel room, just like the rest of the world, isolating. So work as a nurse, come home and, well, my hotel room, and I was stuck. I knew that the show ended, and I guess I didn't have a lot to catch up on. I only had 2 seasons that I needed to watch. So I was like, let's take advantage and start binge watching this. So I went from we stopped on season 3, I believe is the last season that we podcast. So I had to watch 4, 5, and 6. Before we stopped and I jumped shark, I actually started season 4, and I always have this rule when I watch TV that you have to make it at least to the 4th episode or the 5th episode. That is like my rule of thumb that I like to have. I got to the 4th and 5th episode and I remember watching and I was like, I just can't do this. Like, it's just going in the same repetition. It's the same thing over and over and over. However, the actors and actresses were really strong. If I believe correctly, all 3 of us agreed that one of our favorite actors they killed in the show. They killed him very, very early. So, and also, I can't even remember the TV shows. There was also other TV that was on. I think Once Upon a Time was still on at this time as well. So I had Once Upon a Time. I'm still a diehard Grey's Anatomy fan. And I mean, working, I had to prioritize TV. So I just jumped shark on How to Get Away with Murder. Back to jumping back onto the show, I watched season 4 and I started from the beginning again. And I was like, wow, why am I doing this? However, I was like, all right, I'm going to push through. I'm going to get through and do this. And season 4 was probably the last season where they did this whole circle and went around. Season 5 is really where I went, okay, so now they must have got enough letters and went, well, we're really mad at you guys. Why don't you go back to what your equation that you did in season 1? And they did. They did. The only thing that I didn't like about season 5 is How to Get Away with Murder. And if you're a huge fan of the show, you'll understand this, that they already had very strong, complex characters and they were very well defined. And that's what made me keep watching till the end, is that they started defining them. Took them 5 years, but they started defining the characters. And on top of that, they also introduced 3 more major characters that I wish they would have introduced earlier, because I probably would have stayed on, because they well rounded out the cast. They needed them, and they made the show more enjoyable, because it got really tiring watching as they call it, the Keating 5, just doing the same thing over and over again. Oliver, who was Connor's partner, who they ended up getting married. They actually did get married. Of course, there was a murder at their wedding. So those two actually, Oliver wound up becoming a bigger part of the cast than when we fell off, when we all jumped shark. And that was really interesting to see, because out of all the characters in the show, I think, because they were all law students, Oliver was the only one that actually brought real importance to the table. He could hack anybody and he could get anything for Annalise whenever she snapped her fingers. But actually, one of the powerhouses of the show we actually got to meet during season 5, and her name was Tegan. And we're really going through this time that TV is starting to switch and not show I hate to say traditionally, but not that housewife, cookie cutter female character. This woman's character, I'm probably going to butcher her name. It's Amira Vaughn. I believe that's how you say it. Fans, if I butchered it, I'm so sorry. I love you all. But her name's Tegan Price on the show. She was a force to be reckoned with. My favorite thing about her is that when you first met her, they left it up to the audience to assume if she was gay or not. She did have to fight through these times where she had to make it. She was very high up in the law firm that she worked in. And you could tell that she played cutthroat. She would destroy you to get where she was at. And then I also love that she was so strong when she was around everybody, that once she became really good friends with Annalise, she finally broke down and realized that she didn't love anybody because she fell in love with her career. And that really spoke volumes to me, because I really love my career, and as busy as it is, it's really hard to have somebody that understands that your career is very demanding. And so that really hit home for me. And I love the fact that they didn't make her that cookie cutter female. I need a man to survive. She took care of everything herself. Yes, she murdered a couple people, but she took care of everything herself. She didn't have any, all that can come to my mind is munchkins to say, but like Annalise had her Keating 5, and then she had Bonnie, and then even at the end, she was using her mother as the cover up. Now, I want to talk about the final season. I feel like once you fall in love with a show, the final season is like hit or miss. Like super fans are never going to be happy. They're never going to be happy. So I already knew going into this, there is no way that they could make the show so I'd be 100% happy about it. So I kind of went into an open mind. However, they did play back to what they did in season 1, which I completely loved. And they did parts of it in the rest of the season, but season 1, you started in the field, in the forest, whatever you want to call it, with a bonfire, and you had no clue what was happening, what was going on. You didn't even know that a murder took place. And then it just wheeled back like 18 weeks, and then they worked their way to that. That whole season was working up to that moment. They did that finally again in the final season. And it really like hooked people. And I could see people even watching this show. Like, for example, if I had somebody and I'm like, nope, we got to finish How to Get Away with Murder. I don't care that you haven't seen the other seasons. We got to watch it. I could see them watching it and going, ooh, okay, this is interesting. And spoilers, sorry guys, love y'all. But how they started the season is Wes actually died, like we said, in season 3. And that's why most us three, when we were podcasting this originally, jumped shark because he was one of our favorite characters. Well, season 5, yes, the final season started with us seeing Wes, and he was walking up to a huge crowd. And I was like, what? Say what? He didn't actually die. And there were so many conspiracy theories with fans that he really didn't die in the house fire. However, it was actually, oh my gosh, I can't even think of her name. It was one of the characters' son. She wound up hooking up with Wes, and when we jumped shark, she announced that she was pregnant. It was her son, and it was clearly played off badly because it was clearly Wes, the character that played him. And so the cheesy part is, though, that I was like, really? This whole show's about murder, and this is how we're going to end this, is Annalise dies.
Whoa.
End of story, lived her life. All the characters were great. At her funeral, they came back, and boom, she died. She lived a full life. She was accused of, like, murdering a bunch of people. She was on trial. She won that trial. She actually took cases for, it was Black individuals who were treated unfairly in jail and were in jail because they didn't get an actual case. She took cases to the Supreme Court. Connor and Oliver actually wound up going to prison for covering up some of those. Connor gave Oliver, they said he admitted that he did stuff wrong as long as Oliver, his partner, didn't go to jail or, well, prison. He went to prison. I thought that was really, I was like, well, that love bond is still there. And it was really refreshing at the end because he saw them as an older couple and they were together. So clearly they stayed in contact while he was in prison. But yeah, that's how the show ended, is that it flashed forward really quick. I remember watching it and I was like, guys, we have four minutes left of the show. How are we going to close this up? I called it her loyal, like, sidekick, Bonnie, actually wound up getting shot. She wound up getting shot at one of her conferences that she was speaking at about winning the case, and somebody drove by and shot her. We still don't know who that person is to this day. There are theories that it was Tegan, because Tegan thinks that she backtracked on Annalise, did things she shouldn't have done. But, I mean, we could go into detail for, like, hours of the show. It's one of those very complex shows. Talking by myself, I want to stay true to the podcast and how we talk. And overall, now that the show's over, I would definitely give the show a 3.5 stars out of 5. Only because it definitely has storylines that I've enjoyed following. It has that mystery that people like to show. However, it's not going to be the first murder solve mystery show that I would recommend. I'm a huge Law and Order fan, am still to this day. Nowadays, you can turn on the TV and you can watch an episode any time of the day, and I will always be a Law and Order fan. So 3.5 stars. And I recommending the show. I mean, that's our famous question that we like to ask, is would I recommend the show? I don't think I would recommend the show unless somebody like pointed out a character that was on the show. Viola Davis is the main character. And if somebody goes, oh, I love Viola Davis, I'd be like, oh, did you know that she was in How to Get Away with Murder? And I think the only reason the show lasted as long as it did is because of the Viola Davis fan base. And then there were a lot of new characters. Jack Felchie, who played Connor, it was one of the newer things that he's done. And he got a fan base only probably because he's beyond gorgeous. And there was an openly gay couple on TV. So yeah, it was a decent show, but I mean, you're gonna have to like fall in love with it to stay on track with it, because clearly, as we're speaking now, I jumped sharp and then I came back. So yeah, that's How to Get Away with Murder in a nutshell, guys.
So what Eddie just offered was a little bit of what we're calling his final thoughts, because since he jumped the shark and he returned and he completed the show, it's important that we track those final thoughts, and he answered all the questions I would normally ask. But here's one question for you to consider. If you were to summarize How to Get Away with Murder and your final thoughts in one sentence, what would you say?
Confusion.
One word.
One word, confusion. Yeah, that's it. It's a lot of confusion. But once you put those pieces together and it finally makes sense, you get those, what I like to call those aha moments. That's what makes the show good.
So, Eddie, have you closed the book on How to Get Away with Murder?
I have. I've definitely closed the book. I don't think it's going to be a show that I'm going to rewatch. It just takes up way too much time. And I'm sure if I rewatched it, there would be things again that I missed. And I'd be like, oh, wow, I missed that the first time. But there's so much good TV on, and we podcast about so many amazing shows. I just don't have time to rewatch How to Get Away with Murder right now. So maybe someday, but not right now.
All right. Anything else that you haven't covered that you want to say?
No, I'm good, but I'm really glad that I finished the series and I got to talk to you guys about it.
All right. Hey, Eddie, thanks a lot.
Thanks.
And I guess that's a wrap on How to Get Away with Murder. Special thanks to Eddie for providing his final thoughts on How to Get Away with Murder, and for giving us all some closure on a show that our three panelists were so excited about once upon a time. No, not that show, only to lose interest in it by the end. Do you agree with Eddie's final thoughts? Do you disagree? Did you watch the whole show in the end? Find us on social media, Facebook, at CPU Podcast on Twitter, and at Couch Potatoes Unite on Instagram, and let us know. You can multitask while we're rolling the credits. Couch Potatoes Unite! Was produced by Back Pocket Productions, run by yours truly, the Chief Couch Potato, which is really another way of saying executively produced by me, Kylie Piette. My associate producers are Krista Pennington and Selene Rezmer. I edit this podcast, and our logo is by Rebecca Wallace. Our marketing graphic artist is Krista. Our theme song was written by Sarah Milbratz and sung by Sarah, Amy McDaniel, and Kels Rezmer. Kels played the keyboard, Ian McDonough played the bass, Christian Somerville played the guitar, and the whole shebang was engineered by Kyle Aspinall and Christian. We hail from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Please, if you like what you hear, take the time to rate us, give us stars, provide comments, or review us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox, and Amazon are just a few of the places you can find us, but we're also on YouTube. We have our website, and we're now on Patreon at patreon.com/couchpotatoesunite. If you really love us, pledge your support by becoming one of our United Couch Potatoes as we grow our little sofa-populated corner of the world. Otherwise, feel free to tell us how we're doing, what we should add, subtract, keep, or toss. You know how it goes. And if you have suggestions for shows we might consider, contact us at our website where we have a guest book, by email at couchpotatoesunitepodcast@gmail.com, our Facebook, our Twitter at CPU Podcast, our Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite, our Patreon, or wherever you get your podcasts. Though, of course, we add new and old shows to chat about around the water cooler all the time, and always have new episodes coming down the pipe. Just listen to our intros. If you miss old episodes or want to know in general what shows we cover, just search for us. Find us wherever you do searchable things on the internet. Don't forget that exclamation point, or contact us via our website, our email, our social media accounts, and our Patreon to stay up on all the new events and episodes by our humble little podcast, Couch Potatoes Unite! Exclamation point. Until the next time, How to Get Away with Murder is available in its entirety on Netflix. In the meantime, if you have nominations for shows we should cover on our podcast, contact us via social media or email. or our Patreon. You can volunteer to be a panelist too. In the meantime, and until next episode, new episodes are published every Wednesday. Keep listening, keep watching, stay tuned. Bye-bye.